Hey everyone, Andrew Miney here from Bass Squatch Fishing, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about throwing a hollow body frog. When I talk about throwing a frog, this is what I'm talking about. You know, some guys talk, when they say they're throwing a frog, they're talking about those ribbit style frogs. I refer to those as toads, just to kind of differentiate between frogs and toads. So frogs, I consider these hollow body frogs. Let's talk a little bit about equipment first. I'm using Ardent gear. I'm using my Ardent Denny Brower Signature Series frog and buzzbait rod with the Ardent Apex Pro reel. This is a 7.3 to 1 gear ratio reel. I've got 65-pound braid. This is P-line Spectrix braid that I throw it on. Now let's talk a little bit about the conditions under which I throw a hollow body frog. You know, I've caught fish on a hollow body frog through so many conditions, it's ridiculous. Here in Texas, I can catch fish, you know, in the middle of December here on them. I remember a club tournament once out on Lake LBJ. I didn't win, but I got second place, and it was in December, and I caught my whole limit on a hollow body frog, and the water was 56 degrees. So basically, anytime that the water is more than 55 degrees, I'm going to have a hollow body frog tied on. It almost practically doesn't even matter what lake I go to. It's just one of those, I've got so much confidence in it to catch big fish. You know, it doesn't matter if I've caught good fish out on at Lake Travis, which is a real steep, rocky, clear lake, as well as out here on Lake Austin, which is a really shallow riverine system that's got, you know, lots of shoreline cover. So, I mean, I've got so much confidence that if that water is more than 55 degrees, I'm going to have a rod tied with it, you know, and if the moment hits me right, I'm going to throw it for a few casts. Really, though, the best situations to throw it are any time that the fish are up shallow, they're really close and tight to the bank, they're up in the shade, you know, things like that, around, you know, some thick shoreline cover. Those are some of the best times to throw it. Now let's talk a little bit about the business end of this. These days, I'm throwing a river to sea bully wah. Get a good look at it there. That's the bully wah. The River to Sea actually also just came out with the bully wah 2. It's basically just kind of a new and improved bully wah, so it's an awesome bait. But basically, these bully wahs, the big part of why I'm throwing them now is because all of the modifications that I used to make to hollow-bodied frogs are incorporated into the bully wah. River to Sea has got it figured out. They're out in California where I grew up learning how to throw a frog out there on the Delta. And I learned from some really good frog fishermen out there about different modifications that you need to make to get these frogs to walk really well. And that's something that all these modifications I've kind of kept under my lid for several years now, for the past, I guess, what is it, 15 years now? And but I did a little search on the internet, and it looks like there are some things out there that basically a lot of guys kind of let those modifications out. So I'm going to go ahead and discuss those with you today, because if you want to find them, you're going to find them somewhere, so you might as well find them out from me. Originally, you know, when I first started frogging, the frog that I used a lot, and I still have quite a few in my tackle box, is this Snag Proof. This is their tournament frog, I believe. That's it right there. But some of the modifications that I would make to this frog, here's a white one, you can maybe see it a little better. What I used to have to do to these frogs to get them to walk was I had to thin the skirt material out a lot. You know, and there's still frogs out on the market. You know, if you really want to go through the effort of modifying a frog, you can still do it. I used to have to thin these out a lot. They used to be really thick, and so I'd trim them down to where there was only like 10 or 12 strands left on each leg to thin them out. And then what I would do is I'd actually bend the hooks out just a little bit, and that not only helped with getting the frog to walk the dog, but it would also increase my hookups. The other thing that I would do, and this is kind of a little hidden modification, is I would take some braided fishing line, some heavy braided fishing line. See if you can see there. There's some braided fishing line wrapped around that hook, and there's a little dab of super glue on there to hold it together as well. The reason for that is, you know, these frog hooks, the way that they come, there's a lot of flex in them, you know, and they can pull apart, you know, fairly easy. So, you know, especially growing up out on the Delta with these big fish out on the delta, you get them in those thick weed mats, and you know, they could flex those hooks out and come off. So that was a modification that a lot of the serious froggers did, was put that braid on there. So basically now though, with the this River to Sea Bullywah, it's got a lot of those modifications already built in. You know, the Bullywah comes with these EWG style hooks on it. It's an EWG style frog hook, and so that alone, you know, instead of having to bend the hooks out and, you know, making it less weedless, those EWG hooks help it walk better. So I don't have to bend them out on these Bullywahs at all, and they can stay really weedless. Now the legs, the skirt material, it's perfect. You know, it's thin enough to where I don't have to trim any of that skirt material out in order to get it to walk. And the other thing is, like I said, with that, getting those hooks together, keeping those hooks together, River to Sea, you can see there, has basically gone ahead, and it looks like they've put some heat shrink tubing or something on there to keep those hooks together, to keep them from flexing, you know, apart when you get a big fish on. So pretty much all those modifications, you know, that I would have made are incorporated in here, and this frog will walk straight out of the package. Sometimes though, you know, it seems like you have to give it a few twitches to really get it going. I want it walking straight out, straight off the bat from that first twitch. So the only modification that sometimes I'll make to these Bullywahs, and I don't even do it every time, it's only with some of the frogs, is that I'll take and just one of these legs I'll cut just maybe, you know, a quarter of an inch shorter than the other one, and then that helps it, you know, walk a little bit better. So those are pretty much all of the modifications, you know, that I make to my frog. But like I said, if you get one of these River to Sea Bullywahs, it's like you hardly need to do anything at all. If anything, maybe just trim one of the legs just a little bit shorter than the other one. It really doesn't take much. Now, when I'm teaching people how to walk a frog, probably the biggest problem that they have is they're trying to twitch it too hard, and they're trying to twitch it on a tight line. You know, it's just like with a River to Sea Rover or a Zerspook or something. You know, when you walk it, you've got to have some slack in the line to pop it, to make it hit side to side really hard. And with the frog, it's similar to that, but you know, this is a much lighter weight, and it takes you know, very little action of the rod tip to get this frog to walk. And so if you twitch it too hard, that's when it's just going to chug in the water and just move forward in little spurts. And so I use very little, you know, I use very little rod movement in order to get that frog to walk. So basically I'm using very small twitches, only moving my rod tip really only a few inches at a time each time that I twitch it. And so that gets this frog, you know, just kind of going back and forth like that. So typically one of the keys to this this frog is you've got to be able to learn to skip it way back under the overgrowth and overhanging trees and bushes and things like that. You know, really punching it way back into the reeds, you know, into some of the thickest cover you can find, and those fish will be up there in inches of water. And sometimes even if they're not up in those inches of water, they're sitting out a few feet and they're looking up into those couple of inches, because as soon as something comes up into that shallow water, they know that that's an easy target, and they can run up there and pin it against the shore in that super shallow water. So those fish may not always be sitting shallow, but a lot of times they're looking shallow. And when they see that easy target up in just a couple of inches of water, they'll run up there and grab it. So I'm going to let y'all watch this, some of this footage from Lake Bastrop recently, just this past weekend. I was out there and we just hammered fish on a frog. And y'all pay attention and see, you know, how much movement I give that rod, you know, when I'm walking that frog. All right, guys, hopefully y'all enjoyed that footage, and hopefully some of these tips, you know, with throwing a frog will help you catch more and bigger fish. And as usual, you know, if you want a little extra hands-on help, you know, give me a call, email me, whatever, to schedule a guide trip. There should be a link that pops up somewhere on the screen here on the video that has a link to my website for information on that. As well as there should be a little red subscribe button somewhere on here for my YouTube channel, so make sure to do that to get more helpful tips on bass fishing. As well as you'll see a little white circle with a little letter I that pops up in one of the corners here. Click on that and you'll see some other videos, you know, that I've done with some helpful tips on catching more and bigger fish. So that's it for this time, guys. So until next time, just remember you're only one cast away from totally making your day.